What's the process for that? I've heard you say we can do it, but what's the process for doing it? They're going to outline exactly the process for getting those changes implemented, or even have dialogue about that.
Well, we haven't talked about here. We had a dialogue about that, but not here yet this morning. I do not have a date certain exactly how many days turnaround will be on it. But the process is we want to hear local governments between now and September 1 areas they'd like to see added to this or changed. And then after October, I guess what you talked about giving local governments, once we get the criteria and the time frames will be articulated clearly in the October draft. And at that point, what we want to do is work with locals on their time frame to add in these other areas. So we don't want to close it down. So maybe the answer is a different way. The October plan will have in it these are the criteria and the time frames for submitting the additional growth print areas to us. And if folks want to do that November 1, we'll take it. And I can't tell you right now how long it takes to turn that around, but we don't want to drag it on. But we don't want to tell you either that get it into us by November 1 or else you're going to miss a vote. You know what I mean? That's a very good question. We don't want people to think that, okay, this is a good thing, and if we don't act right now, we're going to miss it. We want that to be when they want to add it in.
Rich, maybe you can outline what resources are there that would flow or be targeted to these growth print areas that currently is now available in general priority funding areas that would no longer or perhaps be restricted more in the current priority funding areas. In other words, what is it that we're now pushing to concentrate? I recognize there's increasingly less resources to do things, but what is it, give us a balance sheet on what are we actually likely to see less of in our general priority funding areas and more of the concentrations.
Right, sure. First thing, and I can't say this enough, existing growth print areas are existing math programs with their own funding sources and with their own least sister state agencies that deal with them, like enterprise centers. I know you're familiar with enterprise centers. And just like the other ones, the community legacy areas and designated neighborhoods, they all have their own existing programs, and we're working with the Department of Housing and Redevelopment and some other agencies. As far as the newer areas the local government may have, we can answer those questions. To be blunt, it really depends on what those areas are that they want to add. But from us, from a policy perspective, as the other Rich said, or like we call it, Good Rich, this is a policy plan. So let's say that, in the case of Perryville, or we get some county land that's not municipal, unincorporated land in the county, in a growth print area, and we work that through the criteria for you guys. We would then say, we're going to plan it's a state policy to concentrate it here. And the next step is, okay, so what are we going to do about that? So then we would probably talk to Dept or DHCD, the Economic Development Department state level, the Housing Department state level, or the Transportation Department state level, and start figuring out what that means. This is a policy plan. We're going to outline what we want to do. We won't be able to tell you with precision exactly how it's going to happen. But if the policy is to concentrate growth in areas other than what's on the red dots, with a higher sort of focus than the broader priority funding areas, then we work with the agencies and implementation stage to make that happen.
So what you're saying, interpreting you correctly, is let's assume the Department of Business and Economic Development has both financing resources, credit enhancement programs, et cetera, that local economic development would use in the development of a site for a new company. And it's already in a growth area. So we can expect not to see an adjustment in the targeting of their dollars to these growth print areas, or we can expect to see them retargeting their resources to different growth print areas?
It could happen. It could be that once we're done with the growth print areas in Cecil County, and the county has added areas they want to see, and they, go along with what would be some common sense criteria to come up with, all things being equal, put it here versus here, the policy will be that it should go in the growth print area. Does not mean that DVET is forbidden from putting it somewhere else. It just is a communication to DVET, and they're working with us on this plan too. That the policy we've worked out is the preference is to have it here versus here.
Well, I can remember when we went through the process of establishing priority funding areas.
Right.
It was a very interesting process. We had an opportunity to work across a number of jurisdictions, some very kind of mindful and concentrated on what they were doing, and others maybe less concentrated. But nevertheless, all these things were established. Once they were established, they were locked down, and the bolts were stripped on these things, And of course, we've gone through processes where we could come back in for corrections, and in some cases, a couple times in Cecil County, we had a couple of corrections to the priority funding areas, and we were engaged in that process. But what happened at the state level was that once those priority funding areas were established, then no resources of the Department of Business and Economic Development in particular could be spent outside of the priority funding area. Okay, so, and so as a result, we could get exceptions, go through the exceptions process, which is truly like going to hell, in many cases. But certainly we're willing to tiptoe down when necessary. The question, the concern is now we need further
Can you name an example of an economic development project that you saw an exception for that you do not yet?
No, we're in the process right now, and actually, and they tend to be agricultural related projects. Yeah.
We see this all the time.
We're working on it. Right. Anticipating full support, obviously, because of the agriculture. It's more of a, I'm kind of talking to you about this, but I'm thinking about the policies of the Department of Business and Economic Development, where the resources actually come into play to get a lot of these things done. And I'm thinking, as I'm talking, I'm thinking about the Principio Industrial Park as a for instance, that kind of finds itself between Northeast and Perryville, yet critical to kind of growth plans of the county. And I'm just hopefully not going to see a restriction in our ability to attract resources from the state for projects in areas like that, which are in unincorporated areas.
Right. No, the other thing is statewide, there are not many areas, whether it's Cecil County or Garrett County or Worcester County, where the priority funding area, which was passed through law in 1997, where those two things don't match up pretty well. Most local government growth areas are the same thing, are very, very close to the priority funding areas. There's not a big difference across the state. There are instances where there are differences, but there's not much difference, and the criteria are relatively straightforward as those things go, and the law was passed in 1997, 13 years ago.
I would think of it almost, I'd turn that question on its head and say, what are the changes to the existing tools that would help rather than what might be the new restrictions? So whether it's changes in the enabling laws for the APFOs, or if it's new, funding mechanisms that enable local governments and economic development authorities to raise the necessary revenues to help stimulate the market. That's the way I'm looking at it. So when we go through this place designation process, as Mary Ann was pointing out, we start to look at the areas that weren't part of the initial growth print. What are the issues that are happening there? What's slowing down the development? Other than obviously broader, market decline issues. But what are the tools that are necessary? And then that's a process that we want to use to help identify where the state can help make changes to, leverage the mechanisms that locals are deploying.
Well, we're always focused on issues of predictability, you know, and of course, having known, you know, on the state side and now on the global side, you know, if you're with the local government, you're always taking a look at what can happen, and you know, you could go kind of look at as where policy goes, and certainly you may not be in that seat, you know, for the rest of your life. You may decide to go do something else. Somebody else will be sitting in your seat. That's a slightly different perspective. So to the extent that these things are open to wide interpretation and restriction, I think that's where all the people around this table put their concern. You know, everybody, I think, wants to do the right thing. Everybody certainly wants to be able to use tools that are focused, but it's, you know, it's just, you know, everybody's going to get comfortable that somebody else is going to sit in your seat and have a different perspective.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, go back to the point I made, which is the fact that this does not give us any powers we already have. It's a policy plan. To do more than that requires a bill, probably going through the General Assembly. So, you know, that I think at its core, I don't want to gloss over any issues. You know, I don't want to sugarcoat anything. He's trying to tell you that, you know, this is a policy plan that, you know, we've been told to do since 1974. We've never done it. And now I know why we've never done it. And to be blunt, if we were up to something sinister, if we really had this sort of plan to go and sort of take control, I mean, the dumbest thing for us to do is to put this plan in, because we don't need this plan to implement our existing programs and to do the stuff that the state's been doing from history until today. We don't have to do this. Obviously, no one's called us out on it much for not doing it since from before. There has been some budget language in general on the aspect, and that's why we haven't done it. But you know, no one's gone to jail because we haven't done this plan since 1974. So again, if we're up to some sinister plan, the dumbest thing would be to put this thing out there. We're trying to open up our playbook. We've been on the football field for decades, and we never had a playbook. So not only are we trying to put it together, we're trying to show it to everybody with our existing players on an existing football field. So that's what this thing is for.
And if I could follow up on the predictability question and that issue, we held a number of workshops with the Land Institute, a lot of developers that work all over the state. We had a session in the Baltimore, North Baltimore region, and Peter was very much involved in that. We heard a lot from the development community about what they would like to see happen with regard to some of the issues that they have to deal with every day, which is, and one of them is predictability. They saw this plan as actually helpful. They're saying, you know, if you all at the state level can provide predictability from the perspective of state agencies and what they're going to do when they review a permit for access off a state highway or a water and sewer permit or any of the other permits that occur at the state level, if that can actually happen at the local level as well, if we can provide more predictability and some streamlining probably at the local level, then they saw that as a good thing. So their tack was this is a potential good plan. It can work, and it will if it does provide that predictability. And that's our goal is to try to accomplish that.
And ULI will be submitting, you know, a lot of detailed comments from those workshops. And there were over 80 builders and developers that participated around the state, and they'll be posting their comments on the ULI Baltimore District website. And you know, I would urge people to go look at those and you know, repeat and emphasize the ones that you would concur with.
Yes. Rich, when I look at the map, I see a lot of green out where all the farms are, which I guess is good. A lot of red in the urban areas. Is this going to, once adopted, is this going to allow the state to change maybe funding formulas for education, transportation, other things where there's less resources actually allocated in the rural areas where there are a lot of farmers? And
But no, I mean, what the green areas are on the outside of the growth areas are areas that are zoned to varying degrees for some semblance of rural protection. And this is to recognize that and then work with local governments to further target within there, whether it's areas such as the priority preservation areas, I'm sure you're familiar with, part of the Ag Preservation Program, now the rural legacy areas, which program has been in place since, I think that passed the same year as the Public Funding Area Act, and those areas overlaid to a large degree in many places. So it's really to map and communicate with there, and then in the implementation stage, talk about, right, how do we want to further target, and that type of thing. There's already a lot of policies in place that relate to, funding formulas for schools, and those are in place. This can't change that. So.
Commissioner, and then I'll go to you, Al. Okay.
From a broad brush perspective, I think this plan does a lot of good things in terms of efficiencies, and I think it's always a good thing when government is more efficient and more effective. What I'd like to do is address the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And I'm not only speaking for myself, I think a lot of other people in the room when we talk about the fear. We talk about this as a policy plan, but with policy comes legislation and possible change there. As local government, we need every tool that we can get to manage well our communities and to not only manage well, but to help them prosper. And with this plan, one day when you're not the secretary, no longer the secretary, and I'm no longer commissioner.
Are you looking forward to that?
I believe your intentions are good, but you're not going to always be there. I'm not always going to be here. None of us are going to be here. And we're talking about future leaders that are taking a look at this and may manipulate this in a way that is very bad. I take you on your word when you say this doesn't supplant local planning, but at some point in time, this document